Chosen one, this moment isn't a coincidence. It's destiny calling. You've been drawn here for a reason, guided by something greater. Ever wondered why you feel different, why the world seems to challenge you at every turn? It's because you're not ordinary. You're destined for something extraordinary. Within you lies a power that's been waiting to awaken. This is your sign, your turning point. Stay with me, because what's coming next will unlock the truth about your purpose. Have you ever thought about the incredible influence emotions have on our daily lives? In a world constantly shifting with feelings, how do we navigate the emotional storms that sometimes seem uncontrollable? Picture a life where every thought, every emotion feels like a relentless force trying to pull us under. Without a way to manage our emotions, how do we sail through this turbulent sea of feelings? Emotions, if left unchecked, are like waves that can overwhelm us, dragging us into unknown and deep waters. A bad day at work, a disagreement with someone close, the stress of daily responsibilities. These moments can stir up emotional tempests that threaten to overtake our peace of mind. And without an anchor, these feelings can become hurricanes, not only affecting our mental state, but also impacting our physical health and our relationships. A lack of emotional intelligence leaves us vulnerable, like a ship lost at sea, drifting without control, at the mercy of every emotional current that comes our way. This internal disarray leaves us adrift, lost in a sea of anxiety, fear, and uncertainty. Without the tools to master our emotions, it can feel like being on a fragile boat with no oars, helplessly tossed around by the winds of our feelings. But imagine, just for a moment, the profound change that comes from mastering our emotional response. This internal compass, which can guide us through the stormy waters of life, gives us a chance not just to survive, but to thrive. Emotional intelligence isn't just about managing emotions. It's about gaining true freedom, the freedom to choose our response, to live authentically, and to find peace in the midst of chaos. Have you ever felt that deep, gnawing anxiety, as though the ground beneath you is slipping away? The weight of fear that paralyzes you, freezing every thought and making every situation seem like an impending disaster. It's like walking through life with a dark cloud hanging over everything, making each step feel heavier than the last. Think about the times when pressure at work or the stress of daily life becomes too much. Emotional intelligence, or the lack thereof, can make all of these pressures feel insurmountable, impairing our ability to function at our best and affecting our mental health. Or imagine being caught in traffic, your anger bubbling up uncontrollably, clouding your ability to think clearly. It's in these moments that emotional intelligence can make all the difference. Instead of letting emotions take over, we can learn to observe, process, and navigate them with grace. One of the most common ways we deal with emotions is by resisting them. But what if I told you that resisting your emotions only makes things worse? Trying to fight against them is like trying to hold back a river with your bare hands. Its emotions flow, and they do so whether we want them to or not. Resisting them only prolongs the emotional storm. Think about it. When anxiety starts to creep in, do you try to push it away, or do you allow yourself to feel it, acknowledge it, and let it pass through you? Anxiety is like a wave. It rises, peaks, and eventually subsides. But when we resist it, we struggle against the tide, exhausting ourselves in the process. Emotions don't come with labels. We often find ourselves thinking, I shouldn't feel this way, or this emotion is bad. But emotions are like the weather. They change constantly, and by accepting their fluid nature, we can begin to release the hold they have over us. Next time you feel anxiety creeping in, try this. Instead of fighting it, take a deep breath, close your eyes, and allow yourself to feel it fully. Notice how it manifests in your body. Don't judge it, just observe. By doing this, you'll start to notice that anxiety is not as overpowering as it seemed at first. It will come, and it will go. Resistance only makes it feel more intense, like trying to hold back a storm with your hands. So why do we resist our emotions? What if, instead of fighting against the emotional waves that come our way, we could learn to surf them? Imagine feeling the waves beneath you and allowing them to guide you. rather than trying to control them. To feel is to live. When we allow ourselves to feel, we open up to a deeper, more authentic experience of life. It's in the acceptance of our emotions that we find the true key to emotional intelligence. By releasing resistance, we unlock the freedom to live without fear of our emotions. Instead of seeing emotions as threats, we can begin to view them as messengers, guiding us towards deeper self-awareness and growth. But it's not just about feeling our emotions, it's about understanding them. When we resist, we build walls around our hearts. We block ourselves from feeling the full spectrum of human emotion. For example, when we resist sadness, we prevent ourselves from healing. When we resist fear, we limit our potential to explore new opportunities. It's like living in a colorless world, where every emotion is suppressed and we miss out on the rich tapestry of life. Think about it. How often do we distract ourselves from uncomfortable emotions? We might engage in endless activities, but by avoiding our emotions, we create a cycle of repression. This buildup of unacknowledged feelings eventually manifests in ways we don't want. Irritability, insomnia, tension. When we resist expressing our emotions in healthy ways, they don't simply disappear. They fester, causing damage to our mental and physical health, and ultimately affecting our relationships. This resistance isn't just harmful to our emotional well-being. It can also affect the way we connect with others. Sometimes, for fear of being vulnerable, we resist love. We shut ourselves off from forming meaningful connections, creating emotional barriers that prevent us from experiencing deep and authentic relationships. But what if, instead of resisting love, we allowed ourselves to fully embrace it? What if we stopped judging our emotions and simply allowed ourselves to feel them? Imagine the emotional treasures that await us when we let go of resistance and allow our emotions to flow freely. This is where the power of observation comes into play. Instead of reacting to our emotions automatically, we can take a step back and observe them without judgment. What emotions are we avoiding? What treasures are we missing by resisting them? Try to imagine yourself as a calm observer of your emotions, noticing them without the need to react. By observing without judgment, we start to understand the underlying causes of our feelings. We start to see that emotions are not something to fear, but something to explore. Take, for example, the moments when we receive constructive feedback. Our automatic response might be to defend ourselves, to feel inadequate. But by practicing observation, we can see that feedback isn't an attack on our character. It's simply an opportunity for growth. As we observe our emotions without judgment, we become more authentic and self-aware. This is where true emotional intelligence begins. When we stop reacting impulsively to our feelings and instead take the time to understand them, we gain a deeper sense of control over our emotions. If you're resonating with this message, I invite you to comment amen below and let me know your thoughts. Also, be sure to subscribe to the Wisdom Ones channel to continue this journey with us. Your support through super thanks means so much to the Wisdom Ones channel. Thank you so much for your generosity, and a special shout out to everyone who's already donated. It's because of your kindness that this message can reach those who need it the most. As we continue to explore the depth of emotional intelligence, let's delve further into how you can become truly invincible in the face of life's challenges. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the weight of emotions. When they come crashing over you, like waves in a storm, it may seem impossible to regain control. But what if I told you that these emotional waves, while powerful, do not need to overpower you? What if you could learn to ride them, to face them without fear, and transform them into something that not only doesn't harm you, but actually helps you grow stronger? Understanding the emotional currents within us is essential for emotional invincibility. Many of us go through life thinking that our emotions are dictated by external factors, our job, relationships, circumstances. We believe that if something goes wrong, it's the outside world that's causing us to feel a certain way. But the truth is, emotions arise not because of the events themselves, but because of how we perceive them. This understanding is the first key to emotional freedom. By changing how we perceive an event, we can change how it makes us feel. Just imagine for a moment a situation where something doesn't go according to plan. The initial response is likely frustration, disappointment, or maybe even anger. But pause for a moment. What if you could view that same situation through a different lens? What if instead of focusing on the setback, you saw it as an opportunity to learn and grow? This change in perception can completely alter the emotional charge attached to the situation. And this is where emotional responsibility comes into play. We realize that we have the power to choose how we respond. Being emotionally responsible is not about eliminating the challenges life throws our way. It's about how we choose to respond to them. Life will always present us with moments that are difficult, painful, or even heartbreaking. But it's how we handle those moments that shapes our emotional invincibility. We have the power to see every challenge as an opportunity for growth. Even in the most trying times, we can extract valuable lessons. Emotional invincibility is about accepting that we are the architects of our emotional responses, the narrators of our own stories. When we recognize this, we no longer feel like victims to our emotions. We become their masters. But how do we begin this journey of emotional mastery? How do we cultivate the strength to face our emotions without being swept away by them? One of the most powerful tools in this journey is meditation. Meditation allows us to pause, to step back from the chaos of life, and to reconnect with our true selves. It provides a space where we can observe our emotions without judgment, simply allowing them to exist without being controlled by them. Meditation does not require us to silence our minds completely. Instead, it invites us to accept the thoughts and feelings that arise, observing them without attachment. This practice can be incredibly transformative, not only by helping us calm our minds, but by shifting the way we relate to our emotions. When we meditate, we create a space within ourselves where we can welcome our emotions with serenity, transforming how we respond to life's challenges. It's not always easy though. In the rush of daily life, it can be difficult to find the time or the motivation to meditate. But when we make it a regular part of our routine, we start to unlock a new level of emotional awareness. Meditation gives us the opportunity to disconnect from the stories we've been telling ourselves about who we are, about our past, about our future. It's a practice of liberation, a chance to let go of the limiting beliefs we've carried with us for so long. Through meditation, we begin to see beyond the surface of our emotions. We begin to recognize the underlying patterns and motivations that drive our reactions. We stop reacting automatically and start responding with intention. Instead of succumbing to frustration, when things don't go our way, we can take a step back, breathe, and choose a response that aligns with our emotional invincibility. This is the power of conscious perception. By becoming aware of how we perceive the world, we can reshape our emotional responses. Another important aspect of emotional invincibility is the ability to embrace vulnerability. Vulnerability is not a weakness. It is, in fact, a strength. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we open ourselves up to deep, authentic connections with others. But so often, we resist vulnerability out of fear. We fear judgment, rejection, or the discomfort that comes with expressing our true feelings. This resistance to vulnerability only creates emotional walls that prevent us from forming genuine connections. True emotional invincibility arises when we allow ourselves to be fully authentic, when we embrace our emotions without fear, when we stop hiding behind walls and masks. We discover a freedom that is not dependent on external circumstances. It is an internal freedom, a liberation of the soul. And this freedom comes not by avoiding our emotions, but by accepting them as part of who we are. I encourage you to take a moment and reflect on your own emotional journey. Are there emotions you've been resisting? Are there parts of yourself you've been hiding from? What would it feel like to release that resistance, to fully embrace your emotions as they come? When we resist emotions, like sadness or fear, we deny ourselves the opportunity for healing and growth. But when we allow ourselves to feel without judgment, we open ourselves to a deeper level of emotional understanding. The journey towards emotional invincibility is not an easy one, and it's not something that happens overnight. It is a constant evolution, a daily practice of self-awareness, self-acceptance, and self-compassion. It's about being patient with yourself, about treating yourself with kindness as you navigate the complex landscape of your emotions. Remember that this is not about achieving perfection, but about progress. So as you continue on this journey, remember to take it one step at a time. Every breath, every moment of self-reflection, every conscious choice brings you closer to emotional invincibility. You have the power to shape your emotional reality. So you have the power to embrace your emotions and use them as tools for growth. If you're ready to embark on this journey of emotional mastery, I invite you to reflect on what it means to be emotionally invincible. What does it look like for you to live authentically, to embrace your emotions with open arms? Take some time to explore these questions and allow yourself to connect with your inner strength. Remember, emotions are not enemies to be avoided, but messengers to be understood. With every step, every breath, you build the foundation for emotional invincibility. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you found value in this video, I invite you to like and subscribe to the Wisdom Ones channel. Your support through Super Thanks means a lot to the Wisdom Ones channel. Thank you so much for your generosity, and a special shout out to everyone who's already donated. It's because of your kindness that this message can reach those who need it the most. Don't forget to comment Amen below and share your thoughts, reflections, and experiences. Your support helps us continue spreading these important messages to others. Thank you for being part of this community. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. As we dive deeper into the concept of emotional invincibility, it becomes increasingly clear that this path is not one that offers an easy or straightforward journey. Emotional invincibility is not about bypassing the difficulties or trying to avoid the inevitable challenges that life throws at us. Instead, it is about learning to face those challenges head-on and transform them into powerful opportunities for personal growth, healing, and inner strength. The idea is not to escape or shy away from life's hardships, but to embrace them as moments of potential transformation. When we approach our struggles with this mindset, they no longer hold power over us. They become stepping stones to our personal evolution. Furthermore, emotional invincibility is not a destination that we can reach once and for all. It is not something that we can simply achieve in a single moment and be done with. Instead, it is a continuous, ever-evolving process that requires our ongoing effort and commitment. We must be willing to consistently check in with ourselves, reflect on our emotional states, and take responsibility for how we respond to life's ups and downs. This journey is about creating space for self-awareness and self-compassion, which allows us to navigate the inevitable emotional storms with grace. The practice of developing emotional invincibility demands patience, as it is not a quick fix but a long-term process. It requires us to understand that healing and growth take time. It's about consistently doing the inner work, even when it feels difficult or uncomfortable, and learning to see our wounds as areas of growth rather than limitations. It's in these very moments of difficulty that our greatest potential for transformation lies. Just as we learn to observe our emotions without judgment, we can begin to heal and transform the emotional scars that may have been carried for years. This journey is not linear, meaning that we won't always experience progress in a straight line. There will be setbacks, moments when it feels like we're moving backward instead of forward. Yet it's in these times that our true strength is tested. The path of emotional invincibility is complex, and it requires us to navigate it with openness, patience, and resilience. Every challenge faced, every emotion experienced, contributes to our overall growth, and though the path may not always be easy, it is, without a doubt, one of the most profound and rewarding experiences we can undertake as human beings. It's a lifelong practice that invites us to become better versions of ourselves. Now, the truth is, we all encounter moments in life when our emotions feel so overwhelming that they seem to take control of us. These are the times when we believe we are powerless, as though we are at the mercy of forces outside of our grasp. In these moments, we are often faced with a crucial choice. Will we allow ourselves to be consumed by these emotions, letting them dictate our actions and thoughts? Or will we choose to rise above them, to take control of our emotional state, to navigate through the storm with a sense of awareness and clarity? Emotional invincibility, at its core, is not about suppressing or rejecting the emotions we experience. It's not about denying ourselves the natural human experience of joy, sadness, anger, or fear. Instead, emotional invincibility is about how we respond to those emotions. It's about choosing to face our emotions with mindfulness, understanding, and a profound sense of acceptance. This is where true strength lies, not in running away from our emotions, but in standing firm in the face of them, allowing ourselves to feel them fully without being swept away by them. When we begin to understand that emotions, no matter how intense or painful, are an integral part of our human experience, we start to approach them with a different perspective. We stop seeing them as something to be feared or avoided and begin to recognize them as teachers, valuable sources of information about ourselves. Instead of resisting these emotions, we allow ourselves to sit with them, acknowledge their presence, and feel them as they come. This doesn't mean that we should let them control us or define who we are. Rather, it means allowing ourselves to experience them without judgment, without the need to change them, and without the desire to avoid them. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that emotions are either good or bad, that we should strive for only positive emotions and reject the negative ones. But this perspective can lead to emotional suppression, where we bottle up our feelings and deny ourselves the opportunity to truly process them. True emotional invincibility comes from allowing all emotions to flow through us without resistance. We don't need to cling to them or push them away. We simply need to let them be. In doing so, we reclaim our power, for we are no longer slaves to our emotions, but rather the conscious observers of them. This approach is not about being passive or indifferent to our emotions. It's not about becoming detached or numb. Instead, it's about developing the capacity to observe our emotions with a sense of clarity and detachment without becoming entangled in them. Then we can observe our emotions as they arise. Whether they are anger, sadness, fear, or even joy, we create space between ourselves and the feeling. This space allows us to respond with wisdom, rather than reacting impulsively based on our emotional triggers. Emotional invincibility, therefore, is the practice of learning to be present with our feelings, without letting them define us. It's about acknowledging that we are not our emotions, but rather we are the ones experiencing them. We are the observers of our emotional states, not the victims of them. This shift in perspective is incredibly powerful, for it puts us back in control of our emotional responses. We are no longer subject to the whims of our emotions, but instead, we can choose how we want to engage with them. This process requires patience and commitment, for learning to be with our emotions in this way is not always easy. There will be times when emotions feel so intense that it seems impossible to stay calm and centered. We can choose to accept the emotion, to acknowledge its presence, and to let it pass without attaching a story or judgment to it. We don't need to make our emotions a permanent part of our identity. We simply need to let them flow, knowing that they are temporary and that we have the power to choose how we respond. As we continue to cultivate emotional invincibility, we begin to notice a shift in our overall emotional landscape. We start to feel more grounded and at peace with ourselves, even in the midst of life's challenges. We realize that our emotions are not obstacles to our growth, but rather catalysts for transformation. They guide us, teach us, and if we allow them, help us grow stronger and more resilient. In moments of difficulty, we learn to ask ourselves, what is this emotion trying to teach me? What can I learn from this experience? Rather than blaming ourselves for feeling a certain way or thinking that we should be different, we begin to see our emotions as signposts on our journey. We realize that they are guiding us toward deeper understanding, self-awareness, and ultimately, emotional freedom. This shift in perspective doesn't mean that we won't face difficult emotions again. It doesn't mean that we will always feel happy or calm. But it does mean that we will have the tools and the mindset to navigate those emotions with greater ease, and we will no longer feel overwhelmed by them, nor will we feel powerless in the face of them. Instead, we will be able to move through them with the awareness that they are not permanent, and that we have the power to choose how we respond. By embracing our emotions fully, we create the space for healing, growth, and transformation. The journey toward emotional invincibility is not about perfection, but about progress. It's about making the conscious choice every day to face our emotions with acceptance and awareness. It's about choosing to respond to life's challenges with courage, resilience, and a deep sense of inner strength. And it's about realizing that through this process, we are becoming the best version of ourselves, one that is no longer defined by our emotions, but empowered by them. As you walk through life, you will undoubtedly encounter numerous situations that challenge your emotional resilience. Moments of heartbreak when you lose something or someone precious. Times of disappointment when things don't turn out as expected. Periods of fear when you face the unknown, and bursts of anger when things feel unfair or out of your control. But alongside these trials, there will also be moments of joy, love, and peace. There will be experiences that fill you with gratitude, times when you feel deeply connected to yourself and others, and moments when you feel truly at ease with the world around you. What's important to realize is that every emotion you experience, whether it's the joy of success or the pain of loss, holds valuable lessons. Every emotion, no matter its nature, serves as a messenger, offering insight into your inner world, your needs, and your growth. Even the most challenging emotions, the ones that feel difficult or overwhelming, carry wisdom. They are the tools with which you can carve out a deeper understanding of yourself, your values, and your desires. In every experience, good or bad, there is a lesson to be learned. Each experience, whether it brings happiness or sorrow, plays an essential role in shaping the person you are becoming. The beauty of emotional invincibility lies in its ability to help you harness the power of your emotions without being enslaved by them. It allows you to transform even your most intense emotional experiences into opportunities for growth, self-discovery, and healing. Rather than letting your emotions dictate your actions and thoughts, you learn to respond to them with wisdom and grace. Emotional invincibility gives you the freedom to feel deeply without becoming overwhelmed by those feelings. It allows you to acknowledge your emotions, accept them as part of your human experience, and then move forward with clarity and purpose. When you cultivate emotional invincibility, you develop the ability to separate yourself from the emotional storms that might otherwise sweep you away. You realize that emotions, while powerful, are temporary. They rise and fall, ebb and flow, but they do not define who you are. By developing a mindful relationship with your emotions, you create the space needed to process them and understand their messages, rather than react to them impulsively. This awareness allows you to navigate life's ups and downs with greater ease, knowing that no matter how intense or challenging the emotion may be, it will pass, and you will emerge stronger for having faced it. In moments of distress, rather than succumbing to feelings of helplessness or frustration, emotional invincibility empowers you to respond with a sense of calm and clarity. Instead of letting anger drive your decisions or fear paralyze you, you can approach these emotions with understanding, recognizing them for what they are lying, temporary reactions to external circumstances. You can choose to pause, to breathe, to reflect, and to choose a response that aligns with your true values. This shift in perspective gives you the power to stay grounded, even in the most turbulent of times. It's important to remember that emotional invincibility does not mean you never experience negative emotions or that you are immune to life's challenges. It doesn't mean that you'll never feel sadness, anger, or fear. What it does mean is that you gain the ability to respond to those emotions in a way that serves your well-being rather than letting them control you. Emotional invincibility is the strength to feel your emotions fully and then choose how you want to move forward, knowing that you are not defined by them. When you learn to respond to your emotions with wisdom and grace, you begin to see life through a different lens. You realize that you are not a passive participant in your emotional experiences, but an active creator of your responses. The more you practice emotional invincibility, the more you cultivate the ability to transform difficult situations into powerful lessons. You learn to extract growth and wisdom from each experience, no matter how painful or difficult it may seem in the moment. It's in the midst of the most challenging emotions that you often find your greatest opportunities for growth. When you face heartbreak, disappointment, or fear, you are being invited to confront your deepest fears and beliefs. These emotions challenge you to examine your values, your boundaries, and your capacity for resilience. In facing these emotions, you discover strengths within yourself that you may not have realized existed. You learn how to navigate life's difficulties with greater ease and resilience, and you gain a deeper understanding of your own emotional landscape. In contrast, moments of joy, love, and peace offer you the opportunity to deepen your connection with yourself and others. These emotions encourage you to savor life's blessings, to embrace the beauty of the present moment, and to nurture the relationships and experiences that bring you fulfillment. They remind you of the goodness that exists in the world and provide the foundation from which you can continue to build emotional strength. Just as challenging emotions teach you about resilience, positive emotions teach you about gratitude, connection, and acceptance. Emotional invincibility, in essence, is about integrating all of your emotions, the highs and the lows, into a cohesive understanding of yourself. It's about accepting that both joy and pain are part of the human experience, and that each offers its own unique lessons. Through this process, you learn to become the observer of your emotions, rather than the prisoner of them. You begin to realize that your emotions do not control you, but that you have the power to control how you respond to them. This realization is liberating, because it puts you back in the driver's seat of your own emotional journey. As you continue to walk this path of emotional invincibility, you'll find that life becomes more fluid, more dynamic. You'll no longer feel as though your emotions are in charge of you, dictating your responses and shaping your reality. Instead, you'll find that you have the tools to create a more balanced and harmonious relationship with your emotions. You'll have the ability to meet each emotion with awareness and understanding, allowing you to navigate life with greater ease and a deeper sense of self-empowerment. And as you grow in this ability to respond to your emotions with wisdom and grace, you'll also begin to notice the impact it has on the world around you. Your emotional invincibility becomes a beacon for others, offering them a model of resilience, acceptance, and emotional mastery. You're calm in the midst of chaos. Your ability to embrace your emotions without being consumed by them will inspire others to do the same. In this way, emotional invincibility becomes not just a personal journey, but a collective one, a way of showing others that they too have the power to transform their emotional experiences and create a life of greater peace, joy, and fulfillment. As you continue on your path toward emotional invincibility, know that you are not alone. We are all walking this journey together, learning to face our emotions with courage, acceptance, and love. And by doing so, we create a world where emotional strength and resilience are not just ideals, but the foundation of our shared human experience. As you reflect on this journey towards emotional invincibility, I invite you to engage with this message and share your thoughts. If this resonates with you, please comment Amen below, and don't forget to subscribe to the Wisdom Ones channel for more content like this. Your support means the world to us. Additionally, if you feel moved by the message, consider supporting the channel through Super Thanks. Your generosity plays a crucial role in helping us reach more people with these transformative messages. A special shout out to everyone who has already donated. Thank you so much for your kindness. It is because of your contributions that we can continue to share this message of hope, strength, and emotional empowerment with those who need it most. Your support is deeply appreciated, and together, we are creating a community of resilience and growth. Thank you for being part of the Wisdom Ones family. It is important to recognize that emotional invincibility is not about being emotionally detached or suppressing your feelings. It's not about putting on a mask and pretending everything is fine when it's not. True emotional invincibility comes from a place of deep self-awareness and self-compassion. It is about recognizing your emotions without judgment and choosing to respond to them in a way that aligns with your values and higher self. When you practice emotional invincibility, you no longer allow your emotions to dictate your actions. Instead, you learn to respond to them consciously and intentionally. One of the key components of emotional invincibility is the ability to detach from the stories we tell ourselves. We all have narratives in our minds, stories shaped by our past experiences, societal influences. These stories often define how we see ourselves and the world around us. But many of these stories are limiting and do not reflect the truth of who we are. They are simply reflections of our past conditioning and experiences, and they do not have to define our present or future. Meditation and self-reflection are powerful tools that can help us observe these stories from a distance and let go of the ones that no longer serve us. When we free ourselves from these limiting narratives, we open ourselves up to new possibilities, new perspectives, and ultimately a more authentic and empowered version of ourselves. It is in the space of self-awareness and self-reflection that emotional invincibility is born. When we understand the underlying causes of our emotional responses, we gain the power to shift our perception and, in turn, shift our emotional experience. For example, when faced with a difficult situation, instead of immediately reacting with frustration or anger, we can pause, take a deep breath, and choose to respond with understanding and acceptance. This pause allows us to step out of the emotional cycle and regain control over our reactions. By practicing emotional responsibility, we not only gain control over our emotions, but we also create space for healing and transformation. The journey toward emotional invincibility is not without its challenges. There will be times when you feel like giving up, times when the weight of your emotions seems too much to bear. But it is in these very moments of challenge that your emotional resilience is being tested and strengthened. It is through these moments that you discover the true depth of your inner strength. Every time you choose to respond with awareness, every time you choose to heal rather than react, you build a foundation of emotional invincibility that cannot be easily shaken. The beauty of emotional invincibility is that it allows you to experience life in all its fullness. It allows you to feel deeply, to love without fear, to embrace vulnerability, and to be authentically yourself. When you are emotionally invincible, you are no longer held captive by your emotions or the expectations of others. You are free to live from a place of deep authenticity, guided by your own inner wisdom and truth. So you can embrace both the light and the dark within yourself, knowing that both are essential parts of your journey. It's also important to remember that emotional invincibility is not a destination, but a continuous journey. There is no final point where we can say, "I've achieved emotional invincibility." It's an ongoing process of self-discovery, growth, and healing. Every day presents a new opportunity to practice emotional responsibility, to choose how we respond to life's challenges, and to continue our evolution. The key is not to be perfect, but to be present, to be mindful of our emotional responses, and to continually strive to grow into the best version of ourselves. In conclusion, emotional invincibility is not about being free from pain or difficulty, but about learning to navigate these experiences with grace, understanding, and strength. It's about embracing your emotions, taking responsibility for how you respond to them, and using them as a source of growth. It's about being true to yourself, letting go of limiting narratives, and living with authenticity and purpose. As you continue your journey towards emotional invincibility, remember that you are not alone. There is a community of people, all striving to achieve the same emotional freedom, the same inner strength. Together, we can support each other, learn from each other, and rise above the challenges that life presents. I encourage you to reflect on your own journey, to look within and discover the emotional invincibility that already resides within you. Take a moment to meditate, to connect with your true self, and to embrace your emotions with love and acceptance. You are the architect of your emotional reality, and you have the power to create the life you desire. If this video has resonated with you, I invite you to comment, amen below, and share your thoughts and reflections. Your engagement helps us continue to spread this message and reach more people who need it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Wisdom Ones channel and share this video with others so that they too can benefit from this powerful message. Your support through super thanks means a lot to the Wisdom Ones channel. Thank you so much for your generosity, and a special shout out to everyone who's already donated. It's because of your kindness that this message can reach those who need it the most. Take care, and may you continue to walk this path of emotional invincibility with grace,